Hello, my friend. I advise you get the kettle on for this one today because I'm going to be talking through something that affects us all, burnout. Now, in terms of running a creative business, anybody out there watching this will 1,000% resonate. For everybody else who is a sewist or a creative in their own right, I'm sure in some capacity you have an unfinished project pile. And in this video, I'm going to be tackling both things. The overwhelm is real. Even filming this video, I've recorded this intro so many times. I've stopped putting makeup on halfway through. My hair is still wet and I am literally sat in my boyfriend's fast fashion jumper. I feel like a fraud. We're going to unpack it. I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys. But in order to reduce the overwhelm, I guess the first thing I should do is clean this studio. It's been a journey behind the scenes and it is one I'm willing to take you guys on. And I will also, in this video, hopefully tick off an unfinished project just to get that momentum rolling again. But it's not easy, so we'll see how far we get together. Let's hold each other's hand through this and jump into it. Okay, crisis averted. I genuinely thought we weren't actually going to get past go because I couldn't find the unfinished project I had in mind, which is also probably one of the most boring things I could have picked up. I'm sorry, this is just where my mental space is at right now. They're a wide leg pair of joggers. I drafted the pattern as part of our trouser framework cycle inside the DPL Atelier. They're not in my seasonal colours, but I just need something comfy to bum around the house in, Exhibit A. And I need to add the waistband and hem the bottom. That is all I have in the tank right now. And I'm sure you guys have felt the same. My journey into burnout is like a cyclical one, and I'm really working hard to break the cycle. And I often, if I'm being totally honest, feel like a fraud. I said it, there we go. Because I'm teaching, I have the skills, I have the experience, I've got the knowledge to teach you guys to build your dream wardrobe. I just seldom have the energy or the time or the will and motivation to apply it to my own. And that makes imposter syndrome flare up, let me tell you. And I think running a creative business, my energy is just constantly on my clients and my members. And when it comes to then stay inspired for my own wardrobe, it really is a struggle. But yeah, all long-winded way of saying I struggle to sit down at the sewing machine and actually sew for me. And so do you ever get it where like the simplest or seemingly simplest task just feels like a marathon? So changing over the overlocker now, I need to change the colour thread. But even filming this video, I had so much resistance to putting makeup on. I just felt like everything feels like such a bigger task than it needs to be. And this is what causes the overwhelm. This is what causes the burnout. Quick tip, by the way. You don't have to rethread your machine from the get-go. You can literally just tie new threads onto the old threads and run it through. So as I struggle to get started with the first step, which is adding my waistband, I take the measurement from my existing garment. I would advise, where possible, taking the measurement directly from your pattern, but if, like me, you've waited a few months between revisiting your project, then taking it from the existing garment is just where I'm at. That is what I have to deal with. But make sure you are taking your seam allowance into consideration. Luckily, I have enough fabric left over for me to cut my waistband. This will dictate the depth of my waistband, but the scrap, luckily, is long enough for me to cut the same length as my waistline measurement. I'm then going to be sewing it right sides together along the short edge at my overlocker. Now, running a creative business means I spend more time helping others create than creating for myself. And lately, that has been weighing on me. Now, I don't mean to get out my tiny little violin because I know life comes at us fast and everybody is dealing with their own stuff. But for me personally, I have been spinning so many plates for such a long time. For example, outside of Digital Pattern Library, I help establish fashion brands for other clients. I also have left my part-time marketing manager job, but that was 3 days a week commitment. And I help my partner with the farm, meaning I manage events and hospitality. I also help him with the marketing there as well. It all just feels a little too much at times, spinning all the plates. And for those out there that run a household and a family, I don't know how you do it. And so with my two short edges sewn together, I now have a loop of fabric like so. I'm gonna just fold this down with the seam allowance on the inside and match those long edges all the way around and give it a good press. This is going to neaten the top edge of your waistband. So I don't actually have the appropriate interfacing in my studio. Again, this would be something that would just stall me and make me slow down. But for the purpose of this garment, it is literally intended, as I've said from the start, for me to just slob around the house. And the bigger purpose of this garment is actually for me to just overcome a bit of a slump. I'm going to use just some lightweight interfacing here. You can get this in black as well. Because I'm doing buttonholes, it needs something. The rest of it will be okay without, but this does need some form of reinforcement. And I feel like you can allow yourself to have these done as better than perfect projects. And this is clearly what I'm battling with myself, because I'm often teaching you luxury fashion techniques that I've learned through the industry. And so when I am taking shortcuts, I feel like a fraud. But I'm here to give you the information for you to make your own decision. And if you choose to also take shortcuts like the rest of the population, I'm not here to judge. I'm just trying to give you the tools in your toolkit so that if you do want to make luxury clothing and you do want to make things that are built to last, that are as beautiful on the inside as they are on the outside, then you can absolutely do that with confidence. So here I am threading up another machine for another part of the process, giving myself another hurdle. I think it's really important that if you are working on a project that you have had resistance over, that you speak kindly to yourself. If you want to call it a day and stop here, then that's great. You've done more than you did and worked on it yesterday. So as I work on my buttonholes, I just want to reiterate that a dream wardrobe to me is one that you actually wear. And if that means it's rough around the edges, if that means you've taken shortcuts and machine finished a hem rather than hand sewn a hem, then that is still a win in my books. I know that my members struggle with this as well. Inside the DPL Atelier, we actually have a weekly creative quick win, and these are actionable steps that can be done within about 10 minutes. And if you get them completed, you're entered into a prize draw. But more importantly, it keeps the creative momentum going. And so adding my waistband to my joggers, I just pin it around the top edge, quarter marking and matching it up to the center front, center back, and side seams. But if you're struggling, there are so many little hacks you can do to try and rediscover that momentum, from setting a timer for 20 minutes and seeing how much you can get done, to an avoidance jar where I put in all the tasks I'm procrastinating on. I give it a shake and I pick one at random and see if I can set my focus on that for the next week or two. And there we have it. My center back seam is aligned. There's a hole because I'm about to thread through some elastic. And my buttonholes are aligned to my front center seam.
Yep.
So I'm going to take a inch wide piece of elastic. I'm going to pop a safety pin through it. And I'm just going... This has been just wrapped around my body and kind of cut to length. Eyeballing it as always with a quick project like this. And where the hole is in this waistband, I'm actually going to start threading this through. And what I can do with this end is I can pin it to the remainder of my trousers, just so that if I pull it or thread it through too far, it doesn't actually budge. So I'm just going to pin and secure that in place to my garment. And then through the waistband, I'm just going to thread it through. Using that safety pin, just give me a bit of grip so I can grab onto something. Just feeling for that safety pin and pushing it through around the circumference of my waistband. And the same is going to apply to the drawstrings. Again, this would have been much better with a black elastic. And I'm going to ensure there's a nice flat finish to the back. I'm just going to overlap these, and I'll sew a little bounding box square to secure that in place. I don't like any kind of lumps and ridges, putting them both sides together. This is going to create quite a lot of bulk if you have a look at that. So overlapping them in terms of elastic is always a bit of a nicer finish, I find, on elasticated waistbands. And what you guys don't see behind the scenes is the camera setup, I guess, the lights, the angles, the tripod shuffle, all just to capture what's already a slow creative process, as you know, with sewing. And like many of you, I wrestle with perfectionism. Is the stitching straight? Can you tell that I unpicked that seam? The same thoughts apply when I'm filming these videos. Is the lighting okay? Is the angle clear? It creates a barrier when really all I want to do is share something valuable with you. So what would you like to see more of? Of course, I chose to finish my joggers through the shortcut with Maraflex thread on the machine. And just like that, as if she knows, my emotional support studio pet, Tia Maria, has entered. She's not much help with hems, but she's excellent company. And so there we have it. It's not couture, they're definitely not a gown, but they're done and they're mine. And most importantly, I know I'm going to wear these. And so thank you for holding my hand through this. I would love to know in the comments if there is a particular project that you are procrastinating on, and maybe just take a time to reflect on why that might be. We've all been in this situation. It is the eternal struggle of my life, and I would be happy to cheer you on and support you. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit more of a different angle from me, potentially a bit boring, but definitely vulnerable. And so please feel free to share your own experiences. This is a safe online space for you to be creative too. For now, my friend, stay safe, keep creative, and I will catch you on the flip side.